Sister Wives Preview. Kody Brown reflects on his life. Sister Wives star, Kody Brown discusses where he is in his process of grieving a life he once thought he would have. Furthermore, he takes time and reflects on his life up to this point and the changes he wants to make. Kody Brown is sitting with his regrets. While Sister Wives star, Kody Brown has been firm on his stance of not camping out on his kids' doorsteps, he is assessing what happened. After being excluded from some of the family events, Kody is settling into the realization his life isn't as full as it once was. In some ways, it is simpler and desirable, but in other ways he feels hollow. Even though he has what he wants on one hand, he can't help but regret the loss he is experiencing on the other. Sister Wives Preview. Kody Brown reflects on his life. In a preview, Kody Brown laments about years gone by. During a reflection of his life, he discusses how his world is upside down. For a brief moment, he becomes retrospective and searches for meaning in his life. He says, "It's my 55th birthday today. I've had an interesting life. I remember 5 years ago on my birthday thinking, okay, I'm halfway through. What do I want to do for the rest of my life? What do I want to be for the rest of my life?" Then, he continues, "Last night, I was up late with Robin. We were having a discussion about our values and the fact that I have struggled with mine through the divorce process. Everything that's happened. Admittedly, he concluded that I've lost a sense of direction for my life. His big picture is crumbling." Then, Kody Brown adds, "There's a struggle that I've had because I had this big picture that got shattered. But I have a safe, kind, and sweet place with my wife, Robin. And then I have tons of guilt because I'm not more involved with everybody else that's out there." He was referring to his other children he isn't connecting with. Then, Robin Brown says in a confessional, Kody's been a very angry, upset. She searches for words. Then says with a large sigh, "Lost person the last few years. And I have to recognize it for what it is. It's just him in a painful place and him in a place of fear that I will leave him to." Kody continues, "What was my purpose 10, 15, 20 years ago? 30 years ago? It was always my family, my children." In many ways, he is realizing the thread that made his life whole. Kody Brown is ready to recommit. In an earlier episode of Sister Wives Season 19, Kody Brown was pining over the heartbreak of losing his large family. At that point, TLC showed a clip of him contemplating how he would move forward after the fallout in the polygamous dream. However, he vowed that he would refocus on his covenant and rebuild relationships in his life. Much like Scrooge in The Christmas Carol, Kody recognizes that his future looks grim if he doesn't change its trajectory. Although he had lost 3 of his wives at that stage and numerous children were pushing him away, Kody promised to do better. Admittedly, his number one desire is to move onward and upward with the goals in life and making my family whole again. In the dim glow of his expansive Flagstaff home, Kody Brown sat alone at the edge of his leather couch, the quiet hum of the night broken only by the occasional creak of the house settling. It was a far cry from the bustling chaos of the family life he had once envisioned, a life teeming with unity, laughter, and shared dreams. But tonight, the silence was deafening, and Kody found himself reflecting on the winding road that had led him here. His hands rested heavily on his knees as he stared at a framed photograph on the coffee table. It was from years ago, a snapshot of a family barbecue when all 4 wives and their children were gathered. The picture radiated joy, each face a beacon of togetherness. But to Kody now, it felt like a relic of a distant, almost mythical past. Was that happiness real? He muttered to himself. Kody's mind drifted to Cristin, his 3rd wife, who had been the first to lead the plural marriage. Her departure had been a thunderclap, shaking the foundation of their family. He recalled the moment she told him she was done. The resolute set of her jaw, the fire in her eyes. "I deserve to be loved fully," she had said. Those words echoed now, slicing through the quiet like a knife. Cristin's new life with David Woolley was an unspoken reminder of what Kody had lost. He had seen the pictures, Cristin smiling brighter than he'd ever remembered, David by her side, his arm draped protectively over her shoulders. Kody had tried to dismiss it as a rebound, a passing infatuation. But deep down, he knew. Cristin had found a happiness that eluded her during their years together. The realization stung. Then there was Janelle. Pragmatic, steady Janelle, who had always been his rock. Or so he thought. Her growing independence had caught him off guard. He remembered their last heated argument, where she accused him of prioritizing Robin over everyone else. "You've forgotten what this family was supposed to be," she had said, her voice trembling with anger and disappointment. He had brushed her off then, convinced she would come around. But now, as weeks turned into months without meaningful conversation, he feared he'd underestimated her resolve. Mary, his first wife, lingered on the edges of his thoughts like a ghost. Their relationship had been a shadow of itself for years, plagued by misunderstandings and unspoken grievances. He remembered their once passionate connection, the shared dreams of building a plural family that would defy societal norms. But those dreams had turned to ash, and Mary's decision to stay felt less like loyalty and more like inertia. He wondered if she was as lonely as he felt. And then there was Robin, his fourth wife, the one he had always believed was his true soulmate. But even their once strong bond was showing cracks. The stress of the fractured family weighed heavily on her, and Kody could see it in her eyes, hear it in her voice. She tried to comfort him, to offer solutions, but her efforts often felt like band-aids on a gaping wound. Kody leaned back on the couch, his gaze shifting to the ceiling. "Where did it all go wrong?" he whispered. He thought about the early days, the excitement of building a plural family, the sense of purpose and unity. He had envisioned a legacy, a sprawling clan bound by love and shared values. But that vision had crumbled under the weight of unmet expectations, hurt feelings, and his own shortcomings. He couldn't ignore his role in the unraveling. He had been stubborn, prideful, unwilling to listen when his wives voiced their frustrations. He had expected them to adapt to his vision without considering their individual needs and desires. And when tensions arose, he often retreated, hoping the issues would resolve themselves. They hadn't. As the night deepened, Kody's thoughts turned to his children. They were his pride and joy, each one unique and full of potential. But even his relationships with them had been strained by the family's turmoil. He remembered Garrison, his son with Janelle, who had openly criticized him for his handling of the pandemic and his perceived favoritism towards Robin. Their arguments had been heated, leaving a chasm that felt impossible to bridge. Kody reached for his phone, scrolling through old photos. There was one of Garrison as a toddler, grinning up at him with unbridled adoration. "How did we get here, son?" Kody murmured, the weight of regret pressing down on him. In the stillness, Kody's mind wandered to the future. What did it hold for him? The idea of rebuilding felt daunting, almost insurmountable. Yet, he couldn't shake the hope that it wasn't too late. Could he mend the fractures? Could he find a way to reconnect with his wives, his children, and himself? He thought about reaching out to Cristin, not to win her back but to understand. Maybe hearing her perspective could help him see the bigger picture. He considered writing a letter to Janelle, apologizing for the ways he failed her and expressing his desire to rebuild their friendship. And with Mary, he wondered if they could start fresh, unburdened by the weight of their past. As for Robin, Kody knew they needed to have an honest conversation about their future. He had leaned on her too heavily, and it wasn't fair. Their love was strong, but it couldn't carry the weight of an entire family's struggles. Kody stood, the leather couch creaking beneath him. He walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling Flagstaff landscape bathed in moonlight. The view was beautiful, serene, a stark contrast to the chaos within him. For the first time in a long time, Kody felt a flicker of determination. He didn't have all the answers, but he knew he had to try. The family he had once dreamed of might never exist as it did in that old photograph, but perhaps a new kind of unity was possible. One built on honesty, respect, and acceptance of their differences. With a deep breath, Kody turned away from the window. There was work to be done, bridges to rebuild, and wounds to heal. And while the path ahead was uncertain, he resolved to take the first step, not as the patriarch of a plural family, but as a man striving to be better for.